Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Transformative Vertical Flight Working Group for Public Service Meeting number 79. Today, we're going to start with talk about some of the forthcoming meetings, conferences, offer the opportunity for our members here participating to introduce yourself, because some of the folks, I think you may be a little newer, or sometimes folks may not know you. So I'd like to allocate a little time for that. And then I'm going to get into a discussion about dynamic infrastructure development for eVTOL AAM public service operations. The main focus on that is because it is a little bit different. Actually, in some cases, quite different than the UAM, urban air mobility, or even regional air mobility, what I call the semi-fixed operations. In other words, you take off and land at predetermined locations. And public service operation, in many use cases, that's not the case. You go out there, and you may not have this facility support, whatever, then how do we operate? How do we keep the operation effective and ongoing? So that's what we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to leverage a presentation I'd done last month in Germany. Based on that, let's get into that when we get time to do that. And I'd like to hear everybody's input, idea. So it's more of a discussion than a presentation, I hope. So I'm going to start off with offering folks opportunity to say a couple of things about yourself, because I think many of the folks attending the meeting today may not know each other that well. So anyone like to go ahead?
Hey, Johnny, this is Greg Leary with Pivotal. I'll start off just by saying hello. And thank you for letting me join. I met Andy at OSH, and he suggested that I audit this group. And so I thought I'd stop in. I appreciate you letting me do so. Not familiar with the specifics of the working group, but very interested in learning more.
Welcome, Greg.
Thank you.
Yeah, got your email and got you in the member list to make sure that you always get the discussions. Yeah, very much pleasure. Welcome. We'll talk more.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hi, Johnny. This is AJ Spouty. I'm also new to the group. I come from technology. I've been in B2C technology for most of my career. As a software architect, software engineer, and then also have done my own startup, and I'm currently looking at moving from management consulting into aerospace. So I'm very excited with everything going on in the space right now, and looking forward to leveraging my experience in aviation as a pilot and someone who's very much interested in the technical aspects of airspace and flight and what's happening in the space. So thank you so much for welcoming me to join this working group. I'm very interested to see what you guys are working on. Thank you.
Good deal. Welcome.
Yep. Hi, Johnny. My name is Gordon Bates, and I'm with a company called FT Technologies, and we make a solid-state wind sensor. And in fact, we presented at Andrew's previous working group number 1. Fairly recently. So the product we make is right here. This can help you with situational awareness on takeoff and landing and hovering for eVTOL. So as you were talking about, you won't always have the infrastructure to be able to take off and land. It would be worthwhile knowing what the wind is doing in 360 degrees while you're doing the critical maneuvers such as takeoff and landing, but also transition from vertical to horizontal flight is a critical transition, as you know, because you can lose lift if you know what direction the wind is coming then that can benefit you. So we make a solid state technology that's immune to vibration and external acoustic noise. And there's quite a few of the eVTOL manufacturers that are evaluating our technology right now, either as a replacement for a pitot tube or as a complement to a pitot tube.
Oh, good deal. Good deal. Good to have you.
I just posted Gordon's conversation with us for our working group in the shared notes. If anyone wants to check it out, he did an awesome job. It was a great presentation and a cool tech.
Good deal.
All right. Hi, this is JP, Johnny. So this
Hey.
is actually my second time attending this event. I really enjoyed your last event with Carl's, from Jump Aero's presentation. And I also gave a talk earlier this year for Andy's meeting about the high power battery module for electric aircraft. So that's my background. I was working at the battery company for electric aircraft, as well as AAM operation company. Now I set up my own consulting company and I have two clients. One is AAM OEM company and the other is a battery company. So I'm kind of keep continuing on the battery space and AAM space, and glad to be here. And I'll be also happy to support you or help out if there is any volunteer opportunity for me. All right. Thank
Good
you.
deal. Good deal. Always good to have you, JP.
Thank you.
Hey, Johnny, this is Edgar Valdez. This is actually a first time attending this specific working group. Currently with Deloitte Consulting, specifically in advanced air mobility, UAS, program management, stand-up, go-to-market strategies. Prior to Deloitte, I was with UPS Airlines, and actually UPS Life Board was part of the group that started that. In terms of my role there was both contract, HR, and strategic strategy development specific to policy for AAM. So look forward to the discussions.
Good deal. Good deal. Good to have you.
I'll quickly take my turn. Eric Geerlings, professional engineer located in Michigan, and working on designing and permitting unique infrastructure that has not been approved in those jurisdictions before. Most commonly grid scale battery storage, wind and solar, but trying to bring that over into the EV space and beyond.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, good to have you here.
Okay.
Dajendra, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I'm Durgendra, based out in Idaho. I'm a product manager for a B2B tech company focusing on batteries and battery-related services. So I'm interested in the battery-related stuff and telematics space, and looking forward to contribute and learn from this working group.
Okay, good deal. Well, I guess with all your guys' expertise, so we can solve this battery problem once for all.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sure. Thank you.
Good to have you. Denjin?
Yeah, I am a president for IV Corp. We are developing a special eVTOL. We are in business for almost 2 years, did vertical transitions to horizontal and back. I'm just playing with new controllers and things, improving flight in windy conditions, and I'm thrilled to be in this group. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Good deal, interesting. Anybody else like to introduce yourself?
Johnny, this is Rick Simmons. We've known each other many years, but
yes,
I'm a retired Army experimental test pilot, former FAA and NASA test pilot, and been a DER flight test pilot for the last 10 years. Met Johnny when we were certifying a jet down in San Antonio many years ago. I've started out with the working group number 3 several years ago, and then got too busy. I've kind of fallen off the stuff, but I'm consulting for several of the startups in the UAM and the AAM area. So very interested to see where we're going, and I'm very interested in the public service part.
Hey, Rick, it's always welcome to have you. And by the way, can you send me an email afterwards? Somebody else is want to talk to you. So
I don't have much spare time, but I'll send you an email.
yeah, please. Anyone else?
Johnny, it's Richard Kellett-Clark. I'm based in the United Kingdom, so I'm just sitting on the other side of the pond trying to work out what's.
Oh, it's late over there, huh?
Yeah, it's late over here. Yeah, it's about 7:15 in the evening. Just interested to hear what's going on in America and learn about it. I have a startup in the UK, which we might do a presentation for you in December, which is an electric propulsion system for aircraft, a more efficient way of using electric propulsion and driving rotors in propulsion for UAMs and drones. But keen to hear what's happening in the way of public services and infrastructure in the States.
Good deal. Good deal. Always welcome our friend from across the pond.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay. And feel free to step in later on. Try to leave a few minutes at the end of the session, so we can do that also. So, and with that, I'm going to, can you guys still see the screen okay? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to basically show you just a few meetings that's coming up. A little bit of a reminder, several of them are organized or partnership organized by Vertical Flight Society. It's a pretty busy time. A lot of meetings have relevance to us, not just Working Group 4, but all the working groups, all the AAM space. There's one, the propulsion power technical meeting on the upper left-hand corner. That's coming up November 1st and 2nd in Hampton, Virginia. There is a European rotor meeting, which I understand is one of the large exhibit and meeting conference that should be taking place in Spain, November 27th to 30th. And of course, the AirTech also will be in Munich, October 25th to 27th. There can be a little overlap there. And of course, on the in the center, we're seeing the one that the First International Conference on Advanced Air Mobility System that's going to take place in India. Anybody who may not be too late to make your trip arrangement, December 4th to 6th. It will be unusual because I believe this may be truly as implied, the first such meeting taking place in India that I know of anyway. And of course, there's the nice Asian Australian Rotorcraft Forum. I believe that was in Nanjing, China. Also, in January, on the left-hand lower corner, there's a AIAA Science and Technology Forum, the SciTech Forum, which is always pretty significant, a lot of good technical discussions and so on. That's going to take place in January 8th and the 12th next year, and that will take place in Orlando, Florida. One very important one, which I think I would encourage everybody to attend, is the Transformative Vertical Flight Symposium, the annual Electric VTOL Symposium. That's going to take place, organized by Vertical Flight Society. It's going to take place Santa Clara, San Jose area, coming year in February 6th to 8th. So would be nice to be able to see you guys all over there. Sometimes online meeting is great, save a lot of traveling and so on, but at times it would be nice to have a face-to-face discussion and maybe have a beer at the same time. Also, of course, there's always the January Consumer Electronic Show, the CES, as usual, taking place in Las Vegas. That would be probably going to see quite a bit of relevant activities over there. So this is not the complete list, but I just picked some of the potentially interest topic conferences that may be of interest to all the working group members. All right, so with that, I'm going to get back to, since I'm the host and I'm the speaker, so I'm going to introduce myself. Well, I can talk forever about myself, but basically, I'm the president of International Vehicle Research. It's a small company. We're focusing on innovative flight vehicle and electric vertical takeoff and landing eVTOL technologies, as well as manned aerial vehicle UAVs, the development and applications. Can't show too much right now because a couple of the programs are still under wrap, but hopefully soon I'll be start talking a little bit more about it. And I have basically over 30 years experience in manned aircraft product and so on, aviation product, all the way from designer, engineer, engineering management, all the way to executives, covering pretty broad area, including design development, program management, supply chain management, MRO, global marketing, business development. So I guess when we're young, we don't know what we cannot do, so we do everything. And eventually, when you get seasoned enough, people think you know everything, so they put you in different responsibilities. So to me, that's a great experience. I won't trade it for the world. So the easiest way to introduce myself maybe with a few pictures. And that's, I just pick a few pictures of some of the projects I worked on, showing there. The central one is the SJ30-2. That's the one that Rick Simmons was talking about. But as you can see, I work anywhere from racing airplane, kit airplane, piston aircraft, private airplane, regional airliner, military program on the upper left-hand corner. That's a slot. That's a side-looking array radar platform, and of course, also work on hovercraft and jet fuel powered internal combustion engine for aviation use, industrial grade helicopter, drones, UAVs, and business jet, personal jets. And the center lower corner is one of my favorite. It's a Diamond D jet. That's our team there. I had a chance. It's a golden opportunity, I guess, for any aviation developer's dream. Start from planning the whole thing, hiring the first person on board, build the whole team, lay out the whole program plan, budget, cost management, all the way from design, development, testing, production planning, and tooling, and everything. So that's a handful. It's it's 18 hours a day job, 7 days a week, but I won't trade it for the world. Anyway, just a little background. So I'm going to escape that and switch over to the presentation material. And that's this one. All right. Can you see the presentation material okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. All right. I actually delivered this presentation first time September 27th in Bremen, Germany at the Electric and Hybrid Aerospace Technology Symposium. I made some modifications and updates and so on, but the content is fundamentally the same message. I hope that I can get some additional input, feedback, and discussions in today's meeting. And of course, we all know about the working groups. Again, anybody who has not had a chance to download the NASA report on the right-hand side, I showed the link down there. Please feel free to go ahead and get the download. It took many contributors and editors, including the NASA team, helping supporting release this document. It served as a outline, not covering all the possible use cases, but at least identify the potential and some challenges of eVTOL for public services. So if you haven't got a copy of it, please, you should download a copy. And courtesy of our taxpayer supporting NASA, that will be free of charge. So, and some of you may have seen this chart. You say, what are we talking about? What is the potential use cases for eVTOL for public services? Here's just a highlight of some of the possible use cases. And each block, the upper portion is the use cases I'm listing. And the lower portion is some of the user or organizations that may be the candidate to operate or to manage those fleets and operations and so on. So I roughly group them into 6 major categories. One is firefighting. It's, of course, fighting wildfire is one of them. Now you can do a on-demand distributed operations and try to tackle the wildfire early stage before it becomes uncontrollable. Either put it off or control it, slow it down, while the rest of the team, the ground troops and so on or the larger airplane can get to it. And of course, also look at the possibility of urban firefighting. If the fire chief had the ability to get to the site faster and quicker, regardless of the traffic conditions and so on, be able to get there, or even helping people get off the rooftop and so on, that may be opportunities. And of course, disaster, humanitarian environment situation, well, we have a lot of that around the world. I live in the Gulf Coast. The disaster, natural disaster happens almost as a regular occurrence, not exceptions. And of course, we got wildfire, we got earthquake, we got flooding. Around the world, it seems to be getting worse. We need to have ability to respond to the worsened situation. And eVTOL can be part of the solution, not all, but part of the solution. And medical transport is one very interesting one. It's a broad range of medical transport, from quick response, like what Carl Dietrich talked about. We can get a very fast, compact unit from the hospital or service center EMS location quickly to the 911 call location, and be able to treat the patient in a matter of 8 minutes or less. That can make a huge differences in the life-saving or the outcome. And of course, there's also mid-range transport, hospital to hospital, or even from city to city if a patient needs to have additional care, either severe burn, you may need to move to the burn center of specialty equipment and doctors and so on, or certain medical conditions, only specialists in other locations. So all the way from very short range, very fast distributed operation to longer range, medium range operations, all covered by that potential applications. Of course, I think law enforcement is a very, very interesting Again, a lot of times law enforcement, time to location are critical, and be able to be able to move the coordinator on site, be able to move necessary personnel on site, or if there's a person injured, could be moving right to the hospital for medical care and so on. So there's a lot of use cases, including patrol, border patrol and so on. So we have a lot of potential use cases. Of course, search and rescue. I have to say that for battery-powered only eVTOL, the search part may be a little challenging because we don't have enough endurance. But rescue, definitely, we can have distributed locations, and many of them, hopefully, it's easy to maintain, low cost, and so on. And the search part, we can send out a swarm operation, maybe half a dozen search platform with long enough endurance to find the target. And once we find it, the eVTOL goes out and pick up the person, get it to the proper care, and so on. It can be many different kinds of scenario. It could be the mountain climber, could be on the beach, on the wilderness, flooding situation, and so on. And of course, up to the north, a lot of ice snow rescue that eVTOL can make a difference. Of course, the military operations, there's a broad range of potential uses. Of course, Air Force Agility Prime is being very active in getting the systems and platform start the testing, evaluation, operation trial, and so on. So the way I look at it, we spend a little more time looking at the logistic support, on-demand transport operations, and that alone, there's a lot of potentials. And if we look at what happened in Ukraine, the massive 1,000 tanks fighting each other may not be necessarily the future situation. We maybe look more at urban warfare, look at smaller group operations. So transportation in the small scale, but a lot of them may make a huge differences. Okay. With the help of many of our members and other specialists and experts and so on, I managed to publish as a resources for everybody to look into 5 different SAE Edge report. That's the listing on the top here. The first one we published was the eVTOL application during a global pandemic that's happening when we start writing it right in the middle of the COVID-19 scenarios. And we see a lot of challenges, but opportunities that eVTOL make a difference, like deliver a vaccine to with limited freezing time period to rural, difficult to reach communities and so on, for example. The second one is one of my favorite, is second one was the rapid response on-demand firefighting. It covers both the fighting wildfire as well as urban suburb firefighting opportunities. And the third one is the use of eVTOL aircraft during natural disasters. Again, a lot of opportunities, a lot of use cases. We can definitely make a difference in the outcome. And of course, the fourth one was last mile transport and logistics for military use. You can think about, for example, the ship-to-shore logistics. And if you look at the second to the right image, we can have a compact flying backpack, and that's one of the projects I'm working on. It can be folded as a little small unit, like on the left-hand corner, but deploy quickly for retrieving the downed pilot, or same type of device could be used for high-rise building, escape, safe landing onto the ground if the fire broke up in the middle of the high-rise building. And of course, the last one just released 2-3 weeks ago is the first responder, police, and medical transport applications. So all those SAE reports are available, but that each one of them dive into a little bit more about the potential use cases, all related to public service, almost kind of like taking the NASA report, and then we dive into more detail in each category.
Hey, Johnny.
Yes.
My first question is, when do you have time to sleep? My second question is, going back to that slide, those are available to this working group?
Unfortunately, I don't think so, because SAE, I think they charge the user for, I think there's a lower cost for the members. But once they published it, I think they own the publication.
Licensing rights.
Yeah, but you can find the abstract and so on, and I can send you some, if you're interested, I can send you some of the abstract and information and see if you like to dive in a little more. So
yeah, that might be helpful if you can send a link to the group where to access those or purchase them. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I'll do that. And yeah, if the simplest way I would do that, but also if you just type in SAE Edge report, Johnny do, I think most of them will show up. But I'll send a link to everybody. Thank you. And of course, one of the challenges for eVTOL for public services, we talk about the mission, how we use it and when we can use it and so on. The couple of the challenges that's a little bit different and unique than a lot of discussion already taking place and work progressing on the UAM and RAM, the urban air mobility and regional air mobility. The public service mission, the logistic can be problematic. For example, if we talk about eVTOL for firefighting, to my understanding, currently the fire retardant are only stored in, like take a California example, only stored in the certain locations, because that's how the current operation is. And so the fixed-wing airplanes and heavy-duty helicopters and take off and operate from those locations with the support of it. Now, if we say we're going to have distribute that each local community and fire department will have a few eVTOL that can serve some of the purposes to slow down the fire and progress and so on. We need to think about that our current logistics of fire retardant are no longer valid. We have to see if they can be further distributed to where the smaller units or distributed units are located. And does that pose a challenge? And so that's just one example of the differences between when we introduce a different mode of operation, how do we use it, how do we do it, and what else we need to make changes. It's not necessarily insurmountable, but we need to recognize changes like mobile charging. Okay, we move forward to a disaster area. Once the airplane is there, we may be already out of juice just by deployment. Okay, now we need mission energy. How do we charge it? What's the best way to do that? Of course, if we have a longer range, distance deployment, beyond the, say, design range, either the pure battery or battery hybrid systems and so on. How do you get the platform? I use the example that, I was at Houston when it's flooded due to a hurricane, hit it twice at the same time, so it got totally flooded. And let's say in the future, if we have a few hundred air taxi operating in Dallas, and we can draft half of the units and send them over down to the Houston area, give it to theater commander to operate, deliver food, water, medicine, or retrieve people from trapped folks on the rooftop and so on. But how do we get those fleet over to Houston. That's not that far, but it may be out of reach on some of the platform. And do we have a relay stations in between? Okay, maybe that's the way to do it. And if we have to deploy a little longer term service, maintain spare parts and so on, how do we do that? Okay. And of course, the infrastructure and logistics almost intertwine in this case. I mentioned the charging energy supply. If we go to a certain flooded area, infrastructure may still be intact in the surrounding area. That we may be able to do continue to, if the charging system is already in place, that may be okay. But if it's a hurricane passing through or tornado passing through, may be more controlled band of these damages. But if a hurricane goes through, all the surrounding area most likely will be out of power. Sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. How do we charge? The even existing charging station may not be there, so we need a way to do that. And if we use a hydrogen system for some of the eVTOL, we won't be able to deliver hydrogen where it's really needed. Now, if it's diesel or gasoline, we already developed some of those capabilities on the ground as is today. So that may be lesser of the issue if we use those as a fuel, as hybrid system. And of course, a landing site, and where do we go? Staging area, where we're going to operate. And of course, once we switch over, once the area become a disaster area, quickly, of course, at first we will declare disaster zone. And then the command and control responsibility might go to the theater commander. But we need a system. Of course, we're developing AAM navigation airspace management system, but we need to be able to quickly switch to a backup mode or alternative mode so that local zone, local area become manageable and controllable, integrating with other area assets together, allow the theater commander to integrate all the operation in one shot. So those are just some of the challenges we may be facing. And now, some of the opportunities, for example, if we have, in the next few years, we will have vertiports in the city or urban area. Those, if they are available, we can quickly say, well, okay, for convenience operation, you may have to go away for a little bit. We have emergency here. Let me draft half of your landing pads for emergency response operations. That may be one of the solutions. It could be a mobile truck, like the picture shown on the left-hand lower side, or lower left-hand right side on the left side at the bottom. The picture there showing basically a charging truck that can plug into the flat vehicle to charge. Or we may have a GA airport or helicopter operating bases and so on that can be quickly converted to temporary use cases as a operating site or staging area for emergency situation for temporary use cases. Oh, one more thing. For military operations, it's really it really needs to be self-contained. In other words, when we deploy for certain missions, either overseas or whatever, if it's a domestic supporting of disaster relief, we still have some of the infrastructure available and so on, possibility. But for pure military operations, that has to be basically self-contained capabilities. So I separate that into two categories. One is the local operations, okay? which means more like a short range, fast response. You can see on the right-hand upper corner is the what Carl was just released the information on the high-speed EMS fast response platform. Can land in basically on any street corners and so on, get to the heart attack patients and so on. Basically, Jump Arrow did a thorough look at the use cases, the supporting range coverage, how many people can benefit from that, mainly for the rural area, not for urban situation. Or if you look at the left and upper corner, that's a interesting, that's the lift aircraft that demonstrating operation from the water. And the left and lower corner is EHang. Actually, some of you may have heard the news that EHang received their first, their official certification from CAAC, the Chinese FAA. So that's a promising achievement. Of course, it's reported that they are authorized to operate for tour air taxi type operation. I assume it's in less crowded areas and so on. So we're still interested to see what else they're limited, but the same platform basically can be easily converted for firefighting as other use cases. And of course, the lower right-hand corner is one of the possible use cases that for medical transport platform, that in case there's a car accident that person needs to get to the hospital quickly, that may be a scenario. But the thing is that most cases we have to consider at least the one-way range, but once you done that, exceed your return range, the platform will have to have alternative way to either recharge and fly back or something. Now, if it's in urban suburb area, that recharge can come later, that's okay. But in case of landing on the highway, you had to take the person back to the hospital, that platform had to have a runway capability range-wise. So a lot of short-term local use cases, but generally speaking, we may have ability to support those platforms in a little bit more meaningful manner. But on the longer range regional deployment, that may be a little bit challenging. If it's a fixed base operation like the hospital to hospital, like the lower right-hand corner demonstrates, that may be okay. But if it's like the disaster relief, like the picture on the upper left-hand corner, that's a V-22 operating in Puerto Rico some years back. Of course, so we have major wildfire, we may need unmanned cargo capability to transport or patient transport capability with large enough platform. Those sometimes, especially when the mission target location is further away, once you deploy into a different region, into different than your operating base operation, then you have a challenge situation that how are you going to support that airplane? How are you going to charge that? Like disaster relief, fighting wildfire, you may have to move a fleet of airplane from this area or this part of the state to the other part of the state. Humanitarian aid, medical transport, especially in disaster areas and so on. We may need mass scale operation. We may have to be there for weeks or and on. And in many cases, we lack infrastructure, damage or remote. And of course, we may have to be multiple trip. Once you on site, you may have to make multiple trip a day, rapid turnaround. That's a challenge, of course. Operation coordination and so on all need to be coordinated. I mentioned that the possible fixed base operation, like the commercial vertiport, hospital, helipad can be used for eVTOLs and so on. Even fire stations with limited modifications on the rooftop and so on. That might be quite usable, quite feasible solution. Of course, places like Air National Guard Base, if we have a fleet of airplanes standing by, the beauty of that is that there's a lot of professionals there. There's well-trained people there, so service maintenance, operating practice, and so on can be well coordinated. And when disaster or need comes up, that can be deployed from that. But so those, I think, we have short-term feasible solutions. But once we deploy, that can be a challenge. Of course, transportability. We have to be able to move airplane from site to site, and we need to be able to manage the airspace. If we can put the platform into a cargo container or tow behind the truck on the road, that will be tremendously beneficial and useful. And charging is a big task. It's however, it's promising that like in the U.S., we used to have several different charging standards, and we still do. But many people are signing up for North American charging standards that were originally developed by Tesla. Like Ford, GM all signed up to it, and several Japanese and European car companies are endorsing that. That may help standardize somewhat so that the charging, we don't end up had to carry a whole bunch of converters, adapters, and so on, that make adaptability, compatibility much better. Of course, the megawatt charging is also promising because that standards, the international standards is in work, SA is working on that, potentially could go up to 4.5 megawatt for the charging for the trucks. Now, if we can leverage that standards and leverage that, the future facilities available for eVTOL charging, guess what? That can really, really help out on the charging difficulties that we may have when deploying for public service missions. Of course, as I said, diesel and petrol is not necessarily a problem, but hydrogen may still be a challenge. Now, sometimes we may need to, as I say, that's shown as a highway site. This is medium, smaller size, but some of them are huge. They have the larger ones will have enough electric power capabilities for temporary emergency deployment as relay stations. Of course, we also need to consider the trailable generator, perhaps with battery pack, so that we can, the battery pack can perform high-speed DC charging because quite often we need fast charging, quick turnarounds, and so on. And facility-wise, deployment-wise, okay, guess what? At least in the US and Europe, we have a lot of general aviation airports. In the US alone, we have about 19,000 airports, heliports, seaplane base, and other landing facilities. And there's at least 1,800 aerodromes and landing sites in Europe. But once so that, I think it's one of the hidden treasure that not only we can revitalize the GA airports for much more utilization for regular eVTOL operation, AAM operations, and so on, but those will become very, very practical and useful. It has almost everything you need except maybe charging facility that can easily be implemented. So that is one of the hidden treasure that I think we really need to make the best use of. Now, what happened to the rest of the world when we don't have a GA airports in nearby the operating locations? This is the solution I came up with. I was flying into Houston one day, and I was looking down and start counting the football fields, high school football fields. I counted the 6 going in. And on the connecting flight going out, I looked down again. there's another 5 or 6 of the just on the flight path alone. So I look up, we have tens of thousands of high school football field alone. And also, even when you get out of the North America and Europe, Europe has a lot of soccer fields and so on. We call it soccer, right? They call it football over there. And the rest of the world also have a lot of sports field that's open, that's big enough and flat. And if there's a school nearby, may have enough electric power for charge up the battery bank, and when the airplane lands, you can use that to fast charging and so perhaps that is one of the globally available potential sites that we can leverage, but we really need to do a lot more homework, look into that. May have to be friends of some school board, chairmans and so on, so that we set up a huge database that where all that can be leveraged, which ones are useful, suitable in case of emergency, that we can use them for life-saving missions and so on. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents, and I'm not going to read the details on the conclusions. I think we pretty much covered that. But just want to point out, this is a picture I took. It's a double rainbow picture. I took it right at Maui this January. And unfortunately, reading about the wildfire that happened, and the picture was taken right near the disaster area. So that's a reminder to me that some of the work we do here, in case of that kind of situation, we can make a difference of evacuating people, getting people to the hospital, saving lives, and so on, or sending the firefighters into the right location, and so we can make a difference. So, and with that, open for any questions, suggestions.
Hey, Johnny, this is Greg Leary again. I have a hard stop in about 3 minutes, but I did want to make a couple of good points. And I think it's heartening. I've spent a lot of time in prior work in the EV charging business, and as well as studying predominantly Part 107 drones for commercialization with a prior company, focusing on public safety. And I think there's we can probably take a little bit of experience from that group under Part 107, and it's heartening in that drones as a first responder are already being actively integrated into public safety agencies, specifically, and I'll reference Chula Vista, who now I think has 4 rooftop locations where they fly predominantly DJI type drones. I think there are 210s or something like that, and getting remarkable results in terms of getting on scene rather quickly. So that builds a use case for what we're talking about in terms of the types of platforms that you're showing and showcasing here. Menlo Park Fire Department up in Northern California, I think, is the first fire department that has actively put a drone as a first responder platform on the rooftop. And so again, very slow and methodical process, but that just bodes well for the future. And I'm about to post a note here in the chat for Sharon, which I was a member of for years, which predominantly focuses on CCS and megawatt charging, but it's a good reference for some of the platform providers as it relates to those 2 formats, charging formats.
Good deal. Well, yeah, good input. Thank you. And yeah, you're right. The drone went through this implementation learning process on public services. We should absolutely learn from it. Try to hopefully be smarter this time, so that we can be a little faster, a little bit more efficient, implementing a little larger system, a larger platform. But we're going to run into similar. A lot of them are not. It's operation challenges, and not necessarily platform itself. But sometimes it's training, sometimes mentality. We need to be mindful of the potential challenges and maybe address them early on.
Yeah, I know that when you're doing large wildfires, they call it the operational stack, where there are individuals on the ground, aerial assets overhead monitoring, and then you've got the tactical people in the middle. How do you integrate this type of technology? There is some pushback from that industry a little bit. At some point, they're going to have to realize that these platforms are attritable in high risk areas and far less costly. And they'll just have to come around at some point, and they will. But I have to leave, and I thank you all for visiting or allowing me to visit. Andy, good to see you again.
Thank you. And yeah, we need to talk more. Obviously, you have a lot of interest and knowledge behind this, so we need to talk more. And by the way, I just want everybody to know the monthly meeting is not the only place we should have a dialogue. Okay, so we need to go beyond just the monthly meeting discussions and so on, so that one-on-one, one or few discussions or meeting at the vertical flight meeting in San Jose, that would be great.
Yeah, and if everybody's open, or at least in an area, for example, Chula Vista, which is a San Diego area, or Northern California, if you want to take a side trip to some of these, even though they're very small, Part 107 platforms, I've got the end to be able to do a small field trip there to meet with these folks.
Actually, I would talk to you because I have a meeting coming up in San Diego, so maybe you can help make an arrangement.
Yeah, that or the team that runs that is a group called Flying Lion. They're based out of Los Angeles area, and they've also got Beverly Hills, San Diego, Santa Monica, all the beach cities wrapped up in what they call DFR arrangement as well. So there's more and more coming up. So wherever you're at, I can probably get us in.
And Greg as well. I'm up in Northern California. I'm going to be going and checking out that Menlo Park installation at the fire department there. If you ever end up here, be definitely interested in joining you.
Yep, I commute on a regular basis. I'll be there Monday through Wednesday.
Oh, where are you located?
Palo Alto.
Palo Alto. All right, I'll connect with you if you don't mind on LinkedIn.
Yeah, please do. I live in Southern California, but I commute.
Fantastic.
Nice to meet everybody. Thank you.
Good deal. Other thoughts, suggestions? I know we are running short on time, but I would definitely, it's really to throw some of the, let's treat it as a challenge for everyone to think of what else we need to think of, what we need to focus on working to enable those possibilities or to remove obstacles. All right, I'll tell you what.
I was gonna chime in here, Johnny. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
please.
I would say lesson learned from the infrastructure side, local zoning and codes, battery storage, especially on a larger scale than a home energy storage system might be 10 kilowatt hours, but a shipping container full is megawatt hour kind of size. When you get up to that size, the electric code 2021 or an FPA 855 starts being necessary for folks to get permits to put that type of battery infrastructure on the ground to supplement, charging. And then also the zoning, the local zoning folks, if they don't know if they allow that type of infrastructure in that zoning district, that can be a hurdle. Just think of it as you don't have gas stations in your residential neighborhoods. They're only allowed to go certain places. So those folks are going to need to be educated about batteries. It's just one example. And then obviously the industry as a whole that you're trying to bring into that location, there is a significant amount of education that is required prior to getting stuff approved for construction. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I think you're absolutely right. That's one of the maybe one of the challenging aspects because a lot of people, we look at this, we live this a lot, but not most of the people out there still don't know this is coming. So that may be part of our opportunity is to be more engaging with the local communities. so that we can enable the functionality earlier, sooner. All right. I tell you what, it's 5 past our time. I really like to hear more from you guys. So please send me email or one of those meetings. Maybe we'll meet up in person and to have further more in-depth discussions and so on. Definitely like to hear more from everyone. So yes, please do. And with that, that's I will call the conclusion for today's meeting, and look forward to see everybody next month or at one of the meetings. Thank you.